Hi, my name is Ben, and the only videos on my channel that do well are about CGI. So let's do another one! Seriously though, I honestly wasn't going to make this video because I'm kinda sick of talking about CGI, and this video kinda felt redundant. But when I released Is CGI Getting Worse, a cool thing happened. Real-life CGI artists started commenting on that video and even reaching out to me through private message to answer my question. Some agreed, some corrected me, and all of them offered potential answers for the question that I had posed. And I felt I should share the answers I received. Now, I'm going to attempt to refrain from retreading all of what I said previously, so if you'd like to watch the original video, you can click on the card at the top of the screen. Also, these are answers I pulled from random people on the internet, all claiming to be VFX artists. I have no way of confirming whether or not any of these people actually are VFX artists, and I have no way to totally confirm their answers aside from the research that I've conducted to try and verify their claims. All that to say, feel free to comment below if I get anything wrong, and let me know your thoughts. Now, let's get to it. Is CGI getting worse? No. And yes. In my original video, I presented two theories on why some CGI might look worse now than it did a few years ago. My first theory was that CGI needs a physical frame of reference to look good. The second theory was that rushed and underpaid artists weren't able to keep up with the demand. And I was partially right on both accounts. I was correct that a frame of reference can help, but not exactly in the way I thought. Yes, motion capture can definitely assist in ways that I listed, but there's a lot of other factors that go into getting that realistic look. Lighting, for instance, is a big factor, with unnatural lighting causing CGI characters to not gel with the background. So if you're lighting a CGI character or background and it's a bit off, it can cause the whole thing to look off. Worse, sometimes shots of real people are sent to artists lit incorrectly for the CG background the artist was tasked with creating. So for example, let's say an actor is lit against a green screen with a bright orange light. But then the VFX artists are supposed to make it look like that actor is in a dark forest. It just doesn't work. Another trick is lack of lighting. A lot of great CGI creations of the early 2000s were shrouded in shadows to hide any imperfections the CGI models may have had. It's a lot more challenging to make something look realistic when in broad daylight. Not saying it can't be done, it's been done plenty of times, it just provides a new challenge. Another commenter pointed out that our newfound image quality can be a hurdle for CGI artists. With 4K cameras now being able to capture the pores on someone's face, artists might struggle with having to craft more and more detailed creations to keep up. Shooting on film used to help blend everything together, hide the imperfections of not just CGI, but practical effects and locations. But now, artists have to dial in effects with incredible detail. And sometimes that can backfire, with incredible detail on something that might be far away enough from the camera that in real life it wouldn't look so detailed. In a weird way, the lack of detail can often look more real than a ton of detail. It's confusing to say the least. Speaking of reality, another thing that can cause CGI to have that uncanny feel is when it's used to create camera movements that are not possible. For example, this shot from Black Panther. A camera cannot do this, it breaks the laws of physics. Neither can a person for that matter. Compare this to a CGI creation in front of a real camera. Filming it as though it is actually there, you get a much more grounded feel with your CGI creations. This is one reason plates are so important. For those who don't know, a plate is a shot of a real location that you superimpose a CGI character or person or object onto. This allows artists to blend the CGI elements with the physical environment, lending the whole thing more authenticity and weight. Contrast this to CGI creations inside a CGI environment, and it suddenly feels a heck of a lot less real than before. It starts operating less like reality and more like animation, but since it's supposed to look real and not animated, this can sometimes cause that uncanny valley feeling. Now, all of that to say this. At the end of the day, poorly executed lighting, unreal camera movements, too much detail, too little detail, or a lack of plates can cause CGI to look a little wonky. But CGI artists usually know how to light their models properly, understand the right amount of texture required to make something look real, and there are films like The Lion King crafted entirely inside a computer with no clean plates in sight. As highlighted in my top 10 best CGI from this decade video, there's plenty of amazing CGI today as well. So, why does some of it look not so great, and why does some of it look astounding? Well, we're back to my second theory from the original video, that artists are underpaid and rushed. This seemed to be the one thing that every artist who reached out to me completely agreed on. But dang, I didn't realize the sheer extent of it. As the prevalence of CGI has increased, more and more studios rely on the fix-it-and-post mindset. Creative decisions will be made by a studio or a filmmaker in post-production, forcing artists to adapt, which oftentimes means that CGI artists have to do more work than they initially bargained for. They thought they had to do 800 shots, but then those 800 shots are totally changed midway through, and the artists have to adapt to that. This causes artists to have to work insane hours of overtime with no overtime pay in order to keep up. Except it's even worse than that because modern day films don't have hundreds of VFX shots, they have thousands. Things that never needed to be CGI are now CGI. And so when things are changed from their original plan, it's thousands of shots that now need to be recreated and changed, usually without further compensation. For example, I had an artist who worked on this scene in Doctor Strange reach out to me. That person said that due to reshoots, they had to build an entirely new street in just 2 weeks. 2 weeks! It is astounding it looks this good. You remember how much I ragged on that awful CGI in Black Panther? Well, apparently they only had 6 weeks to construct that entire sequence. No wonder it doesn't look very good. I'm sure there was a very good reason Marvel didn't give them more time on this, some sort of scheduling delay or reconstruction of the film's final act, or maybe Infinity War stole all their artists. But dang, can you imagine the sheer amount of work they had to put in to create this whole sequence in 6 freaking weeks? The very same VFX company did the CGI for Infinity War and Endgame, and look at the enormous difference in quality. It's such a shame that these artists weren't given more time. Worse than this, VFX artists are vastly underpaid. The studio will agree to pay for 1,000 shots, but then not pay when they want those shots redone or changed because they've already paid for the shots. In addition to this, production companies often outsource to foreign VFX companies where they receive tax subsidies or sometimes don't have to pay as much. This has forced tons of big VFX companies to go out of business and has forced many VFX artists to have to roam as independent contractors from studio to studio wherever they can find work. It's truly heartbreaking. For more information on this, check out the amazing short documentary Life After Pi, which chronicles the struggle for VFX artists incredibly well. So, is CGI getting worse? No. Working conditions for VFX artists are getting worse. Instead of being allowed time to craft beautiful works of art, artists are rushed, having to turn in shots without being able to refine them or sometimes without even being able to finish them. And for this, they aren't even paid that much. And it's a really sad situation, because when I use the term artists, I don't use it lightly. VFX artists create the stuff that dreams are made of, and they deserve to be appreciated for that. And I truly hope that Hollywood realizes this and gives these artists the time and compensation that they so rightfully deserve.